everybody. Brock Morrison here from the Short Round Podcast. I'm here in Springfield, Oregon at Checkered Past MMA, where they do Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, yoga.
Tons of stuff.
Is there anything else? Teaching kids?
I teach weapons also.
Really? I need to talk to you.
Here.
And if you hear a little small voice in the back, it's JoJo, and you will see her later on when Reni will show what he does with the children here at Little Ninjas.
How to be helpful, man.
You have to.
Yeah.
Like as a father, and you as a father, especially with Joe being 5, I cannot sit there on the internet and watch school videos of the fights.
You don't have time.
No, it pisses me off.
Shoot, I didn't have time for stuff like that, Cage.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I got the time. That's the problem. That's the problem. You know, I can get on there and, you know, you're scrolling through and you see like a fight with some kids in the bathroom. And I'll comment. This is why you're
only place in the bathroom by yourself. I'm checking out videos to study.
Yeah, you know, and I always record. You know, I always comment on there. Your children need to know some form of martial arts, no matter what.
Yes, and technically, man, personally, as a martial artist, they just need to learn how to be physical, because physicality emboldens them to use their body and their mind.
Yeah, and exactly what your mind. And I was just getting ready to say that, you know, mental stability.
Oh yeah,
is just as important as physical abilities.
You're going to find out that it's going to become more and more recognized that the mental stability of a child, where it starts, so that way in adulthood they'll be productive citizens.
Yeah, well, just like my wife being in early childhood development, she explained this to me and it made sense, you know, and actually it's kind of helping me even be a better father, is because, you know, with children, it actually will take, you can tell them something and it literally takes them 5 minutes for it to register in their brain. And then they're able to do it.
Turning, man.
Yeah. Now, if you sit there and do, here's 8 things I want you to do.
No,
not going to happen.
No, you got to learn how to teach them.
No, but Reni is also my coach whenever my back allows it. And we've been doing it, for almost 3 years?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Long time. You there at the gym where I was way back?
No, but I was here like right when it started.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah. That's what it is
about. And do not hurt yourself, because your mother will kill me.
Don't do that, man. And out on the couch.
Hey, and we're not calling the ambulance until this thing's over. So we're gonna get you mentally trained.
There you go. Hard knocks way.
Hard knocks way. So, anyways, Reni, it's always the same 3 questions, no matter who you are, no matter if you're a world champion, no matter if you own a fight league. No matter what, I don't care who you are. You can be an amateur. Yeah, you're still getting the same 3 questions. All right, and people ask me, why do you only ask the same 3 questions? Same 3 questions is the same.
Right.
The answers never are. Right.
No.
So the first question, the second question, and the third question: how and why you got into martial arts? What is martial arts doing in your life now?
Right.
And what's your plans for martial arts in the future? So let's just go ahead and kick off with the first one. How and why?
How and why? Well, I'm going to tell you the truth, man. I was inducted to this fight game from the very start of birth. I was born in the Philippines, third world country, pain and suffering happening, starvation, fight all that. You had to fight emotional, physical, and then the other thing was being left in an orphanage to die.
Really?
Basically. And that's my inducted to fighting, because as a young child, I always questioned, why me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only thing that I knew how to do was just fight back.
Now, let me answer your question.
Survive.
Yeah. Did it we're not. Now, when you're sitting there saying, you know, you had to learn to fight, you wasn't sitting there saying physical fighting. You had to learn mental and surviving.
Nah,
Why?
the body's just an extension of all the other physical traits that it has. It has a lot of physical traits.
So you're sitting there saying you had to fight hunger.
Mentally.
You had to fight hunger, and you had to
If
fight.
you want to say physical things, I had to. Maybe I got I argued with my dad. You know, he was always, it hurt. He was always drunk, anyways, somewhat abusive. So, and a lot of my life is blocked out. Yeah, because of that.
Let me pull this a little bit closer.
But yet I survived, and I had to learn. And as you survive, you learn to adapt, and you learn to understand how things really exist in the physical world.
Now, let me ask you a question, you know, and if it's personal, don't answer it, and I'm fine. What and why did you end up going into an orphanage?
My parents couldn't afford me, bro. I was starving. I was sick. I was dying. And rather, in my mind, they left me for a better chance with somebody who had more money than they did. That's in my mind. I'm not my parents, so I will never understand that. And it was probably one of the hardest things for them to do. Yeah. But for me, it was a different experience. Their experience was different. Mine was
different from what theirs were. Yeah.
Mine was, that's why, like you said, why or how I got into it. That's my start of my perception of everything's a struggle and a fight.
Now, what age was that?
Man, I got sent in the orphanage probably 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's a very young, very young person. Yeah. Now, you know, that sounds like the reason why you became a fighter before you became a fighter, and probably what pushed you in some of that.
The fighting aspect for me was really not what I intended to.
Really?
Yeah. Fighting aspect. It's easy to punch and kick people. It's easy. I broke a kid's leg in 14 seconds. It's easy to hurt when I want to hurt people. It's way harder to be mentally aware of others, have empathy for others, because you don't know the struggles they went through to be who they are. Yep. And some people have just a hard time and can't get out because they don't take the time to understand what's happening to them. Yeah.
Well, and that has a lot to do. There's a study called the ACEs study. And what it is I forget the woman's name, but she's an awesome lady. She has TED Talks, and she was a doctor. And TED Talks stuff. And they at the I forget what college it was. She started looking at people that was coming in, and she started noticing things that physical and sexual abuse, audio abuse would have a big effect on if you start doing drugs, if you get into bad behavior, if you start doing this, because it all triggers that. Now, she also said that even if you don't go down the route of violence and drugs and stuff like that, like me and my brother, totally opposite, different things. Yeah. She says, even if you don't do things like that, high risk behavior, you're still more heart problems, you know, all kinds of different health problems come involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the problems that we as human beings like to think we know everything, and because we learn to study and we label and record stuff, so that way we can learn. But in reality, is a person, you and me, we're as different as you are as big as and I am small. As
physical.
And the mental stability of a person. And let me get to something else. Like for example, for 22 years, I was in the healthcare field. And technically I stayed in that field to learn and study, because when you study people, because one of my favorite studies is psychology.
Okay.
Yeah. And I took 22 years to study people, and I went into the disability to learn empathy, to learn to be helpful, and show other souls that there are good people out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go up to certain people who are really on hardcore drugs trying to help them, because that's just dangerous.
Yeah, that is
you got to
dangerous.
understand that if you got to hit them up in the right moments,
Yeah.
in the safe moments.
Don't hit them while they're high.
Not
5 days in a row.
Yeah, not when they're yelling out in the street saying that they want to kill you.
Yeah.
Say, hey, brother, give me a hug.
Yeah, no. Hey, you want to change your life?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Hey, you can't go and telling them stuff like, this is what you should do. No, you gotta, and I studied that for 22 years. And to this day, I'm still studying things that are more, I don't know, sympathy, empathy.
Like my mother even said this before, and even my wife, my empathy,
trusting.
My empathy is on a totally different level. Yeah. Adults, I'm kind of like this. If you're old enough to drink and cause your own problems, mine is children. My empathy goes for, kids and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like if you're an adult, I'm like,
go
you're a dog.
No, I'm the same way, bro, because you got to understand as adult, God made your hardship for you to learn, because your knucklehead self needs it. Like it literally took me to become a fighter to learn and study empathy more, because when I hurt my opponents when I was young, and I was just doing it out of, I don't know, because I was young, anger. Yeah. Testosterone proved that this little guy could break people when he wants to. And it was an ego, self-absorbing young.
So really what you done is you was different, and just like anybody's different in their youth.
Yeah.
And then, you went down the destructive of people, as a fighter and stuff like that. It was what I'm talking about, and then you said, oh, you know what? There's a different side, and I can learn from that other side with the empathy and learning to help people. And
and the truth is that I am that way. I was born with empathy because of what I went through,
and
even at 5, and I've seen, and what I felt the hardship of life is. And once you have a taste of that understanding, you can't say that you're the only one, because there's billions of us.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And everybody's like, and I've had this question before, people, message me, and they're like, that's seen the podcast, and they're like, whenever you ask that first question, it will go off like this.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why is because that's all part.
We're different.
No, that's how you got into martial arts, because things changed in your life or the way that you are.
Drastically.
Yeah. So, your story is a story
that's how I got into the fighting. And it's not just about fighting, though. It was about, at that age, of survival, of self-surviving, because I got left. I basically felt I was abandoned. Nobody loved me, and I was here to die anyways because I was sick. So when you're that young and you don't have nothing else but that,
what else you got to do?
What else you got to do? And then on top of that, you're dying.
Yeah.
So reality is that I only fought for a small amount.
As a child,
and then gone, and then back with a different agenda.
Okay, so let me ask you a question that's a little weirdo running around. So let me ask you a question. When did your martial art journey actually begin, and like what age?
6.
Really?
Yes.
Now, was that in the Philippines, or was that?
It was in the Philippines. Martial arts is a broad term, because martial arts, its meaning is the study of
war, right?
War, of self-defense, the art of self-defense. But if you read in older texts and whatnot, it's also the knowledge of understanding your body. And that to me is an art form.
It is an art.
So once you take that knowledge of that it's an art form, it's like painting. It's like poetry. It's like Martin Luther King. It's like Mother Teresa. It's an art form to being something that is more grand than what you started.
And let me ask you a question.
Right?
Every artist is different.
Yes.
So everybody that does martial arts does it for a different reason.
Yes.
Looks at it as a totally different thing.
Yes.
Right.
But in this group, though, we are learning that most of us study this a long time. We start limiting things and then structuring things to a simpleness of look, we can't be aggro about things. You got to learn. Like for me, I learned how to be the fighter. And then after my fight career, I learned how to be the teacher.
Okay.
And each study holds a different value. And I'm finding out that teaching holds a way more personal value than the fighter me, because the fighter me was self-absorbed. This is propaganda. My gold ring, my bracelet, my hat. This is a style,
status
it's a tool.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool for me. Tools to catch your eye. Like a good fighter will do certain tricks to have people sit in the front row to pay $1,000 to on those tables to watch me. And you gotta have those knowledge of what are tools for you in this art form.
And there's different tools for everybody, everybody. Yeah. And the why, but you're 6 years old.
Yeah.
And you're thrown into
an orphanage,
and then you're thrown into a combat sport.
Yeah, not necessarily to jump like that.
Yeah. But was an orphanage in that game?
Yeah, but the struggle and the fight was like I was literally fighting for my life. I was dying from tapeworm. I was so hungry I started eating the dirt. in the third world country, little kids are doing that and they're literally dying. I've seen kids die in the crib, man.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And that right there changes your whole outlook on life also.
I mean, I was one of those kids and I knew I was dying.
And you could have been one of those kids dying in the street or dying in the crib or
I could have not been here at the age of 5. But for some odd reason, my journey wasn't over. And that's where my martial arts training started.
Really?
That's really when it started, because mentally I was being taught how to survive. I was focusing on things. I was by myself in an orphanage, like whatnot. And here's a little side thing, man. I was caressed by the devil when I died. He showed me fear, hatred, and everything. And when I died, everything was dark. And there was some sort of being telling me that I was worthless and nobody really gave a damn. Which then in turn, I curled up in a ball and said, some being is telling you
that you're worthless.
You're worthless and that nobody loved you and you're dying.
Yep.
And what else can you do? Because it was the truth.
No, it's funny that you say that, because like with my wife, she for years has worked with sexually and physically abused children under the age of 6. So 6 down to infants.
Right.
That's what she's worked with. That changes your whole physicality, your mind. Even if you don't remember it, your brain remembers it.
Oh yeah, you get glimpse.
Yeah, you'll walk into somewhere and something just freaks you out and you don't know why.
It triggers clips.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So she always sits there and says, for you to not go off the deep end and destroy your life, that it takes just one person to sit there and say, you are worth it.
You did. And the reality is, I've never seen your American Jesus, not the white Jesus, it wasn't but there was a being that looked like him. I knew he had long hair. He was bright.
Yeah.
he saved me from the pits of hell, brought me up to the light, and told me, and this is the reality. He told me it's not my time, and that he asked me to help him. I said, yeah, because you took me from something that was horrible. The grips, I feel it was the grips of Satan, the devil himself, because I was so scared.
And you're so angry at the same time.
I was angry at the same time, but what can you do?
Yeah.
It was the most horrible feeling. I've never felt that to this day. And I've been kicked in the head, kneed in the head, elbowed in the head. There's no pain like that darkness that I felt then. And I could see it in my brain.
That loneliness, that, you know, that worthlessness, that, you know, the desperate of
people who hit rock bottom has felt that touch.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't know about you, but I know I've hit that thing a couple different times.
Several times.
Yeah, several times.
But that's the humanity of it. And that's the beauty of humanity, because once you learn something, you're technically learning how to survive.
Yeah.
And for me, it means you're learning how to fight through things.
Very good.
And understand.
All right. So you're 6 years old. You know, we understand that you had to do something different. So you started getting into martial arts. Yeah. What style?
I was brought in by my brother Ray. He was doing Muay Thai with Mike Walrus in the Bigfoot gym when we started. So me and my brother Ray are probably the original professional and the old school crew back then.
And you left the Philippines.
Even Chael Sonnen was on our crew.
Oh, really?
One of Bigfoot's fighters.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's not bad. So you, at the age of 6, is it like when you started getting, now, was you in the Philippines at that time, or was you?
In the Philippines still? I was being adopted. The incredible story is that, okay, let's go back a little bit, because it's important for me to emphasize that I was brought back to help. That's why I told you earlier on that this isn't my life. My life had purpose by the age of 6, and a mission was forged at the age of 6. And as a martial artist, and I was and I ran away from that goal or that mission because I didn't want to do that when I was young. It's like, why would I do that? I was just learning to be selfish. I got a second chance and whatnot. But anyways, I was asked to help. And that was the martial art. That's my first martial artist training, because I had a goal and I needed to reach it. And as a fighter and a martial artist, you have goals, and then you have to reach it. Huh?
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah, like for our guys that are fighting here now, tomorrow. Yeah. Their goal should be being and acting like a professional fighter, because that's the level they want to be at. So now they got to train their bodies and mind to mentally get to that level.
To get there.
Yeah. If you don't, then
why are you doing it? Why are you doing it?
Why are you hurting yourself like that?
Yeah, that's just like me. You know, they're training to be a fighter. I train for self-defense, and then just getting my body back to, you know.
But you know, the reality is that they're doing it for their own purpose. Most fighters do it not because they want to show the fans what they could really do. Most fighters do it because they want to show the life they're living, that they are worth it, and they can do things, and that
they can achieve something.
And achievements mean things for them, and they need things. People need things, achievements, to feel like their life was worth it.
Oh, and that, you know, that makes sense. I mean, you know, that gives you a goal. Everybody needs a goal in life, no matter what it is. And I'm going to tell you this, you know, it sounds like, you know, you went down one level of life, but then you had to do something different. And just like my mother always told me, no matter if I was doing good in my life or if I was, you know, just a piece of crap, or I felt like a piece of crap.
My mom says, she doesn't technically say that, Christian, but I know when she's upset with me, man. She gets the look.
But she always sat there and said that if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Right.
And that's that's those two words, or those words, hold so much meaning. If nothing changes, nothing will change. And that's just like the doing the same thing, thinking you're going to get a different outcome.
Yeah, right. It's like when you say things like that, the first thing that pops is to me is because you didn't want it to change. Because it's way easier to keep things repetitively and know how to get faster and do that stuff,
no matter if it's good for you or not.
Right. And it's like some fighters, we call them robots back in the days. And robot fighting is like, you know what they're going to do. You can see it because they're so basic. It's the same motions, same
straight, same hook, same combos. And sometimes it's weird that I have to train myself sometimes, because I'll notice that I'm doing the same, repetitive thing, and I'm like, what am I doing? I know so many different other things, but it's like, that palm, boom, boom.
But it's not like you shouldn't study a motion, and then try to make it stronger, more effective. Be in a nice range to realize it. It's
what's the old saying? Don't fear a man that knows 1,000 kicks, but a man that does one kick 1,000 times, or whatever it is.
You gotta fear those guys, because they know how to be the most efficient with that motion.
Very true. So let's get this, Reni, because no. That's what I like doing. I like talking to people, and I like hearing people's stories. I like hearing people's philosophies on things. So you get adopted from the Philippines.
Yeah.
And you come over here, obviously, to Springfield, Oregon, right? Or was
Oh no, man! I lived in Iowa. I lived in California. I did. When it was racist, they ran us out of there, bro. The cornhusk.
Poor little kid from the Philippines.
I don't want that food, man. Let's go.
Iowa, California, a couple other places probably, and then boom, you land here in Oregon, and Springfield, Eugene, area right there. So when did you start martial arts? All right, so you got into Springfield. Tell me how that went.
I was in middle school, actually. My brother started doing Muay Thai.
And how much older was he than you?
He is 6 years older than me, about. Yeah.
And that's the one that's came into the gym a few times, right? And trained, or is that your?
No, that's my real brother.
Okay.
I was adopted with my real brother, Ray, from the Philippines.
All right.
We both came at the same time.
So they got a combo.
Yeah.
Got a combo.
2 for 1.
Yeah. 2 for 1.
Take 2 for 1 starving child for the price of 1.
For the price of 1. They're so small, we consider them one together. Yeah. But your real brother isn't a small dude.
No, my real brother is small.
Is he?
Oh yeah, Ray. He's like 5'1". He's barely been here because he lives in some other state.
But there was a dude that was a little bit bigger than you.
Yeah. Right? Nesto. He's
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. See, my brain sucks sometimes too.
There's 12 of us too, so it's not. 12 kids, 12 Gwynns that I was adopted to. My mama, which Betsy Guinn is my adopted mom, and she adopted 12 of us from different countries.
Well, she definitely has patience.
Yes. She's a good Christian woman.
Well, and the thing is too, is, not to get too far off the track, but, you have to be a really strong person to adopt anyways, but to adopt people that have, a hard background.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Because it's a whole different level. When you got a kid who has a hard background and there's 12 of them, they're going to drive you nuts. I know I drove her nuts, and I apologize. I'm sorry, Mama.
Sorry, Mama. So you're in middle school.
Yeah.
Right. Your brother obviously started, and he started over at Bigfoot
Gym with Mike Walrus.
Okay.
One of the greatest Muay Thai teachers here in Eugene.
And he's actually,
he passed away.
But his story is a pretty good story too.
His story is an interesting story.
Maybe
too.
one day we'll come back and do a follow up on things like that, because I do want to actually, get certain people and talk to them about their style and what they learned and how.
Right.
Because every style is different and every teacher is different also.
Yeah. Like he was so different, man. He taught me how to be unselfish and helpful, even though it was making him broke, because he wanted to help people. He literally helped me get off the street and get into martial arts and focus and learn how to focus on things and become a better man.
So let me answer your question. Yeah. Middle school?
Yes.
You was probably
my brother was in high school. I was in the middle school, and that's when we started.
But what I'm saying is middle school, and obviously you said that he helped change. Was you a little bit of a butthead at that point in time?
Oh, middle school? Oh yeah, man. I didn't listen for nothing. I was a hard knocks child. I had to learn. And here's the worst thing about me is that I was the middle child. So no one was paying attention anyways.
Yeah.
And our parents, most of the time, since society had our parents working up to 8-hour shifts and then nothing to, and then when I was young, they took away the sports. So there was nothing really, more sports for us to get into.
Yeah. So you came, what is that? Is that an Appalachian kid or what is that? I forget what the word is. I know it's probably not Appalachian. That'd be a mountain person. But so you're in the middle. You're in middle school. Your brother starts at Bigfoot. You go in there. Now let me ask you this: what was your feelings when you first went in there? Even though that your brother was doing it, you have a different feeling when you first walk in there.
Me and my brother are competitive, bro.
Okay.
I went in there. It's like I'm gonna be better than my brother. I'm gonna show these guys how good I can kick and fight also.
Let me ask you this: how did that first work out for you?
It didn't work out well. I ripped my shorts. I fell on the ground. I looked embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I went home. I didn't come back for a couple of days. It was a humbling experience because I realized that I was trying too hard just to outdo my brother, and that was a learning experience.
Yeah, because there are two different things. You can try. There's two different ways to try hard. One, because you're trying to outshow somebody like you did with your brother, or you're trying too hard to become the best for yourself. And both of those can backfire on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you're trying so hard to sit there and be the best for yourself, and you're not sitting there really thinking or learning the way that you should, right?
Yes. Here's a good example of that. What you're talking about is when a fighter gets to a stage where he feels he's the best and cockiness shines more than in reality, he thinks he's best and he's done learning.
Yeah.
And he might have won 8 fights in a row and he could call himself that. But in this game, reality will strike you hard and let you know that there's tons of cats who want to be way better.
Well, that's just like that's just like they sit there and say about, like karate, once you get that black belt, you're not done. Actually, that's when you first start. You just got that black belt because you learned the basics all the way up to that.
You might think you know all this thing, but in reality, the sport changes. I mean, your knowledge starts to change because you have to learn to adapt these new skills that people are starting to use and utilize, like MMA.
Yeah.
Who knew? When I was in middle school, I didn't know we had to go on the ground and fight. We just sometimes get on the ground, then we both jump back up and fight with our hands. Right? Nowadays, kids have to worry about being ground and pound, arm guard.
Well, I myself, and I've said this all the time, that really MMA has become its own style.
Yeah.
It's its own form of martial arts, just like Muay Thai, just like karate, just like jiu-jitsu. It's became its own style of fighting, really. It's became its own martial art. So let me ask you a question. When you started doing all that and you said your coach really helped you, Is that where you, like you said before, that's where you also learned, you also know weaponry. Is that where you learned
Yes.
weaponry from?
Yeah,
Because he was
he was teaching Kirby Kabang.